Hey guys, this is Blake. Yeah, there's a cat under the covers. That's how you should know that. Anyway, I'm here to review Haywire and Underworld 4 Awakening, even though I don't think they actually call it Underworld 4. I don't know why so many sequels don't like to reveal the number. But especially considering Underworld 4 is a movie where you almost have to have seen the others to understand the damn thing that's going on, so whatever. But just so you guys know, you may have heard, I was sick this entire last week, and even now I'm still kind of feeling a little woozy. So if my voice seems off, that's probably why, or at least that's what I'm going to be sticking with. I was planning on doing a top 12 favorite movie list finally, but my voice couldn't do it, so that's going to have to wait probably till the weekend. If I can't get it out by the weekend, I'll probably just have to cancel it. I already did a written version if you care. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be fine enough to do my Critiquing the Critics episode. So we'll just have to see. Anyway, with Haywire, it's a good movie, not a great movie. And I guess even as a good movie, I'm a little skeptical. But it's one of those movies that you're not really supposed to watch it and then think, okay, that was a good movie. You're supposed to watch it and think, wow, its leading actress, Gina Carano, I believe her name is pretty epic. And this is one of those perfectly made starting vehicles and nothing more. It's like if you watch, for example, Steven Seagal's first movie, which is, I believe, Above the Law. You're not supposed to pay attention to the script or the direction. You're supposed to pay attention to Steven Seagal. This movie is all about him, and any weird divergence the script takes is just to showcase his skills, whether it's acting or physical. And yes, back then Seagal was awesome. But with this one, it's the same thing. It's trying to introduce us to Gina Carano, and we're supposed to pay attention to her acting skills, her charisma, her physical skills, whatever. And any problem this movie has, it can almost be forgiven because it's just all about her. The script, for example, is mostly harmless. There's a few turns here and there that I felt weren't really necessary, like this whole thing with the kid from the Forbidden Kingdom where she's driving around with him. They didn't need that, and they also seem to be really building up to some big revelation as to why this all went down. But when they reveal it, you're like, okay, I kind of saw that coming. That's a little too obvious. But you're not really, once again, supposed to pay attention to the script. And in fact, I almost wonder if they tone down certain things like that so the script doesn't distract you from her. The same with Steven Soderbergh's direction. Very clinical, very competent, but nothing flashy. There's nothing to take away from her. His direction is really just there to not get in her way. Now, if you've seen the trailers, you might know that this movie has a huge cast. And a lot of the complaints is that they cast these characters in pointless and shallow roles. And I think they did that for two reasons. The first is obviously marketability. If they weren't in this movie, I think it would have gone direct to DVD, because I don't think it's great enough to where any distributors would really want to finance it or back it. And even Steven Soderbergh, who's a pretty big director, it doesn't seem like all of his movies get wide releases. Like, I don't remember hearing anything about Che, I believe it's called. I can't even think of the guy's name right now, but I didn't remember that until it went on DVD, so I don't know if that got any kind of release or not, but I figure if I never heard about it, it couldn't have been a very wide release. So, obviously, casting those kinds of actors really helps there, but I also think they're also there just to help boost her. Well, granted, they're probably there as a favor to somebody, probably Steven, but for example, you have Bill Paxton playing her father. The father was not necessary, but because he's there, we get to see her act off of Bill Paxton and hold her own, while also she gets to show her emotional side from that character. Michael Douglas, Antonio Banderas, and Ewan McGregor, they play characters who she can be really serious playing off of and be pretty intense or sometimes even witty, and that's their purpose. And what was the other ones? Michael Fassbender and Channing Tatum, they're more to show off her sexy side, because she has a love scene with Channing Tatum, although it's mostly off screen, and even though there's nothing between her and Michael Fassbender, there's sort of a sexual tension going on. So it's like all these people are there just to once again showcase different sides of her, because this is her starting vehicle. So that's all I have to say there. Would I recommend it? Definitely on DVD if you can't see it in theaters. And I think it's worth checking out in theaters if you have nothing else better to watch. It's one of those movies I'd say if you want to see it, go ahead and see it. But if you don't, I don't know, maybe just wait till DVD. If you want to read my written review on that, just check the link in my description. Also, Underworld 4 Awakening. Sucks. I'm not a big fan of this franchise. I think they're just all mediocre, but I can respect somebody who does like them, because the first Underworld, it's one of the few movies of its type that actually focuses more on its story and fleshing out its characters. And the style is there, but it doesn't get in the way of that. And you don't see many movies actually go for that. So I respect it, but at the same time, it just never really connected to me. I was always really indifferent to it. Kate Beckinsale is hot, but I can't really say I was attached to any of the characters. And, the action was fine, but nothing to jump up and down about. I actually prefer Underworld 2, even though it's much more shallow, because I did think the action was much better. And so I enjoyed that more. But Underworld 3, even though it kind of went back to, it wanted to actually have a plot and, developing characters, once again, it just didn't connect to me, and I thought it was just really mediocre. This film, though, just sucks. It's trying to do what Underworld 2 did, and that's mostly just action, but it fails at it. The action is either shot, there's too many close-ups, the editing is way too tight, the CGI blows. I mean, this movie cost like $70 million, too, but part of the problem with the CGI is that they place it next to really good practical effects. So you'll have, some scenes where the werewolves are obviously CGI and really fake-looking, but then others where they're clearly some sort of practical effect, a dude in a suit. I mean, the practical effects look really good. They just don't they complement the CGI at all, because the CGI looks so bad, and it's just really distracting. So I couldn't enjoy it as an action film, even though it rarely stops. The only good CGI effect was that whole giant lichen thing. I thought that was pretty well done, and it also provided my favorite action scene. But generally with the direction, it's better than the script, but for the most part, I just felt like the directors didn't really know what made the other films work. They emulate the style of Len Wiseman, who did the first two films, pretty well. I mean, all that is pretty much blue filters, but they at least got that right. And there are some good shots, and I like the build-up to the giant lichen, but they just don't handle the actors very well. In general, I think the acting is okay. Kate Beckinsale does the best she can, but certain movements, especially when they become more bestial, they're transforming into whatever, it just looked weird and awkward, and I couldn't really explain why. In some cases, it's because the CGI sucks, like with the daughter. But even when you have fake Scott Speedman, because the actual Scott Speedman couldn't be in the movie for whatever reason, when he transforms, it just, I don't know, just something that looks really weird about it. It just didn't look right. And I felt, had Len Wiseman actually directed this movie, he would have gotten that more effectively, because he seems to actually know what to do with the actors. And that's where I felt the directing really stumbled, is they just didn't know how to direct the actors. Script-wise, it's a mess. It was clear that they had really no idea what they wanted to do. The story, there isn't really one. I mean, they bring up, the humans enter the war. That's just the general setup, though. I mean, they don't do anything with that once the actual plot, even though there is no plot, starts going. It's just the starting premise. Once she gets out of the lab, it's lichens versus vampires once again. The futuristic setting, the future looks just like the present, apparently. I really hated that they emphasized that so much in the trailers, and there's even a line in the movie where she says she doesn't know this world, but it looks the same to me as what we got now, so it's kind of a pointless idea. The whole daughter thing adds nothing, because you never really feel she's in danger, and I don't know, I think they were kind of wanting to play up the fact that she's a hybrid too much, when we already saw what that meant in the first two films, because Michael was a hybrid. And plus the daughter I thought was a bad actress. But to be fair to her, I felt the director was more responsible than her because I think she could have easily just been toned down in certain scenes where she's freaking out. It just looks awful, and the CGI used with her looks even worse. Her one-liners were stupid, and the dialogue in general, especially when it came to her, was just really, really corny. And I felt, I'm not going to blame the actress as much as I blame the writers or directors when it came to how bad she did. What else was there? I liked the idea of the giant lichen once again, and I think that was the only good idea if they did anything effective with. But generally, just the script it doesn't have a real plot. It's just a bunch of ideas cobbled together, and the ideas don't make up for a full film. I mean, the film's really short, but it has so much padding. So many characters were not necessary here. Like the other vampire dude who helps her. No personality, he's just there. The cop I mean, why does every bad movie have some sort of stupid, pointless cop subplot? I mean, he kind of vaguely helps out at the end, but he's really only there for one scene of exposition, and so they have a good human character. But I don't know, he didn't feel like he was part of the story enough. So that just came across as really tacked on. The vampire dude's father, they seem to be building him up for something. You know, they say like, you know, he used to be this badass, or you know, they have this weird scene with him and the daughter where you think that's going to lead somewhere, but it never does, and it just felt like another wasted idea. And that's the whole thing with this movie. All of its ideas are wasted, and unfortunately, even if they weren't, that wouldn't have been a plot. And the whole movie just kind of collapses on itself because of it. It felt to me like nobody really wanted to do this, but they felt like they had to because they got a pretty good budget. And, you know, Len Wiseman clearly wants to do other stuff, like the Total Recall remake, which I'm totally against, but at least it's a bigger project than the Underworld franchise. And that's really, I think the only reason they're making these movies now is to make money. It's sort of like the Resident Evil films, where they almost cease being movies and now are just action demo reels. But I could still enjoy the Resident Evil films, whereas I used to respect the Underworld films much more than those. But at least Paul Anderson seems to be enjoying himself whenever he makes a new Resident Evil movie. I mean, the new Resident Evil 5, I saw the trailer that was attached to this. It looks retarded, but at least it kind of looks like he was having fun with it. And same with Resident Evil Afterlife. Bad movie, but it seemed like everybody involved was having a blast. This one, though, it's just uninspired. Nobody cared. But if you want to read my written review of that, just check the link in my description. That is all. Hopefully, I'll have something for you up this week. But we'll just have to see. I'll see you guys later.